Welcome back, everybody. I'm Robbie Martin with Pursuit of Purpose, and today we have a very special guest. With me today, I have Justin Judolette. Justin is a brand new coaching client. Justin, if you don't mind, I've already given him your name, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Southeast Texas. I've been in sales for about 10 years. Well, officially about 10 years. I started a business back in 2010, so I guess a little bit longer. I've got a wife, 2 kids. I like to fish and hunt and drink a little beer and have a good time.
Just a good old boy.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. What brought you into sales?
Well, to be honest with you, I had a buddy that was in sales, and I thought it looked like a pretty sweet gig. Looked like he was doing a lot of hunting and fishing and having a good time, and I thought that's what it was all about. So got into sales and learned real quickly that there's a lot more paperwork and a lot more work on the back end and late nights and early mornings. And anyway, got into it, had some success, and stuck with it.
Very good. Well, the bottom line is that everything in life is sales.
That's right.
Right? From birth to death.
Yep.
You're always selling. You can't turn it off.
That's right.
We're selling to each other right now, right?
I start selling as soon as I walk through the door at home and as soon as I walk out of the door in the morning. So.
All right. Well, I've asked you a question before, and this is not your first meeting with me. It's your second one. In your first meeting, it was kind of an intake interview. It's where we're testing each other out to see if we're a good fit. I asked you a question, and I asked you again today when you first got here. Who needs a life coach? Who needs coaching? And what is the answer to that?
No one. So
if no one needs coaching, then what would be the purpose of having a coach? And it's okay if you don't have an answer, but I would love to hear it if you do.
Well, to speed up the process in making yourself a better person.
That's right. That's very good. So I'm curious, since we met last, I gave you some homework, and I gave you a notebook, and I'm going to ask you a question that I asked you before. What do you want out of this?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That's a fair answer. That's good. That's good. Sometimes it takes people 2 or 3 meetings before they can give me that answer. So if you're not sure what you want out of this, and I can respect that, what do you want for yourself out of your life?
Well, I'd like to be more organized in my daily habits. And, like everyone else, I'd like to have financial freedom and overall just increased happiness in my life. I think, if you're happier, it makes you a better father, it makes you a better husband. And ultimately, it makes you better at what you do.
Yeah.
In all aspects of life, whether it's sales, whether it's 9-to-5 job. I mean, the ultimate goal in life, I believe, is happiness.
So you want to be happy,
right?
Okay. So, have you given a lot of thought as to what you want to look back on your career having accomplished?
I haven't.
Okay, and that's okay. You're still really young.
No, I tend to, when I look back on what I've done, whether it's mistakes I've made or successes that I've had, ultimately they've all been a learning experience. I have stuff that I've done in my life that I'm not proud of, and I also have stuff that I've done in my life that I am proud of, but both of those situations led me to where I am now, and which I don't believe at all is in a bad place, but I truly believe that had I not had those experiences, whether good or bad, I wouldn't be where I am today. you know.
So to summarize what you just said, you believe there's no real mistakes, that everything has a purpose.
I really do. Yeah, I believe everything has a purpose, and I believe that we take those experiences and we apply them to our goals and, you know, our future, and that's part of the reason I'm here today. Whether this it will turn out to be a bad decision or a good decision, I'm going to learn from it and get better, hopefully.
That's a great outlook, and I agree with it completely. So what that does for you is it makes all decisions result in good things. Even a mistake can produce good results if it was educational, right?
I believe you have to make mistakes in order to improve your life and to get further ahead.
So I'm going to give you an expression based on what you just said, a little cliche phrase that I like to say a whole lot, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'd like you to write it in your book the first chance you get, if you want to pull it out and write it now. But this phrase is very important, and it is, anything worth doing is worth doing badly.
I agree with that. I don't have to write that down.
Okay, good,
Totally.
Good. So anything worth doing is worth doing badly. What I mean is always, don't get held up on being a perfectionist. It's amazing that perfectionists ever get anything done because we're human. We're not perfect anyway, right? So be glad when you do something badly because it gives you a place to improve. It showed you a score that you can make better.
That's right.
Right? So I want to ask you a little different topic. I've paid a lot of attention to your conversational styles, a lot of the words you use, and your vocabulary, common use vocabulary. And you talk about feelings. You do. I don't know if you've noticed it. Have you noticed it?
Oh, yeah.
So do you trust your feelings?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So how do you trust them? Can you give me an example of what they've done for you, your feelings?
Well, as I mentioned before, when I was, playing music, I think that, I was nervous every time that I stepped on stage. But, the feeling of excitement, pretty much got me over that nervousness. I've used feelings to kind of manipulate the situation. For example, if I'm nervous, I would, make myself excited to get through that situation. If I'm scared, I would, create a feeling of calmness or, to get me through that situation. So I think that, I think feelings can be changed. I think if you can control your feelings, I think you can create certain outcomes to situations.
Yeah. So what you just said, and I'm going to try to bring it all together.
Please do.
What you just said is that you create your feelings. You convert your feelings from one thing to another. You took your nervous energy and created it into
excitement,
a powerful force to let yourself feed on, to become excited, to move forward. Right?
That's right.
So the amazing thing is, I was headed somewhere with it, and you beat me to it. You don't even know it. What you just said is, you made an internal choice to convert your own feelings from one thing to another because you didn't trust what your feelings were in the first place.
That's right.
You didn't agree with being nervous. You didn't trust that feeling. So in order to move forward, you decided to change it and make it work for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what would you say if I told you you can never trust your feelings?
I would it.
It's okay if you disagree. I'm okay with that.
No, I'm not saying I disagree.
Okay.
It's just, that's just a phrase that I haven't heard of, that, you can never trust your feelings.
So, have you ever sat in a magic show, someone with a magician?
Sure.
So they prove to you that you can't trust your eyes, right?
Right.
That's a sense, one of your senses, your sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard somebody say something that they never said? Come on, you're married. I know you've done it.
Yeah.
So, you can't trust your hearing all the time.
All right.
You'll hear things that didn't happen. You ever sat in a deer blind before daylight, and you hear all kinds of weird stuff because your mind is like looking for stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just talked about your eyes can't be trusted. Your hearing can't always be trusted. Have you ever had your sense of touch be fooled?
Sure.
So you can't trust that. Those three things that I've just listed are all feelings. They're not emotions, but they're feelings. And you just agreed that you can't trust those three. What about your sense of smell?
I would say you probably can't trust that either.
Taste, smell, all of it. You can't trust them. So what can you trust if you can't trust your feelings? You can't trust your five senses all the time. They'll lie to you. You can't trust your emotions all the time. You just even proved they'll lie to you, and you have power over them. So what can you trust? It's a single word. Results. Results are the only thing on this earth, in this universe, in this life that deserve your trust. Okay? So by everything that you do and everything that happens around you, if you want to know if it can be trusted, look for the results. The results never lie.
That makes sense.
So never trust your feelings. Look for results. Okay? Now, can you agree that that is a positive way to move forward?
Oh, yeah.
So if you were to do that all day, every day, and you measured every decision you made in every moment of every day just by the results, what do you think would change?
The result.
But would it change in a small way?
That would probably change in a fairly large way.
Really fast. If you focused on results in everything you did. Now, is there any negative about that?
I mean, I'm sure there would be negative.
The only negative would be the motivation behind the choices you're making. Okay? When your ego gets involved. So, results-based thinking, results-based activity is not bad. It's only the motivation behind it that can be bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I would like to challenge you to do, and I hope you'll agree, is that in the moments to pass after this meeting, from here on, you will practice results-based thinking and decision-making.
Okay.
Results-based activity. Just that single word, results. Does that sound difficult?
No.
And if it does sound difficult, take everything you do down to its smallest part.
Explain that to me.
That's a good one. I like that one. So, this is a 17-story building that we're sitting in, right? It's got elevators in it. But if the elevators didn't work, and you wanted to go from the bottom floor to the top or from the top to the bottom, how would you get there?
Stairs.
Could you do it in one step?
No.
So how would you do it?
You would walk down the stairs. Or
One
the stairs.
step at a time. So you ignore the fact that it's 17 stories. You only focus on the step in front of you. And each time you step one, you forget about that one and you focus on the next one. Right? Those are the results. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in life, everything can be a building. Every task can be a building. And it has steps. So what do I mean by that? Let's make it, relate to your life. What do you want? Not just happiness, but what do you want to accomplish with yourself? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So give me one thing.
I want something simple that I want.
No, I don't care if it's simple. It can be the most complex thing in the world. Give me a dream. Give me a life goal that you want.
I want to be the best at my job. I want to be the best. I want to be the best sales guy ever. I want to take over the world.
Okay, so you want to take over the world of sales.
Yeah.
So if you were to look at that, that's big, right? Sales is a huge field. You got people just jumping up and down out there like, you ain't gonna beat me, Bubba.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, how do you snatch away that throne? How do you take over the world of sales? How do you do it? You can't step from where you are to up there. What would be the first step? Now, this is what makes you start like, oh my gosh, does that give you anxiety just to think about?
Well, I would say the way my mind works, I take a lot of little steps in the directions of a lot of goals. And so I think that if I could narrow some of those goals down, like I said, that, being the best at sales, taking over the world, that is one macro goal that has 1 million micro goals within it.
But what if it didn't?
Well, then that would make it a whole lot faster.
It absolutely would. So let's back up a little bit. So you want to be the biggest in sales. You want to take over the sales world. You want to dominate. You want to be somebody that everybody looks to and says, I want to be like that guy.
Sure.
That's the one I'm aiming at. You want to be that, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing today in your life? Draw me a picture of a typical day in the life of you. You don't have to mention any product that you sell or any particular thing you do, but draw me a word picture of a day in your life right now.
So when I get up in the morning, I immediately start going over what happened yesterday.
Okay. You do a recap?
Yeah, just a recap of what happened yesterday. Respond to everyone that I need to respond to.
So recap and reply.
It's sort of different today because I've started a new job over the past month, so I'm still trying to learn that employer and that company. So I'll usually try to spend a couple of, whether I have meetings in the morning, I'll try to spend a couple of hours of each day, trying to learn the product, which is the company that I work for. And then for another hour of each day, I'll try to generate, new leads. And for the rest of the day, I'll follow up on, on past meetings.
Okay.
I don't know.
Physically,
it's kind of a process.
Physically, where is your body when all that stuff's going on? Everything you just said, where does it take place?
Between my truck, office, or at home.
Okay. That's what I actually kind of thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do the sales take place?
Well, with customers.
In your business, do your sales take place in the office or in the field?
Both.
What's the most productive known way of making a sale in your business?
In the field.
And have you been in the field making sales calls yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And today, did you make any sales calls?
I did.
You didn't list that in your activities.
Well, like I said, it changes every day. Some days are a lot more productive than others.
I would agree, and based on what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So one thing that we need to do is build routine.
I agree.
Okay, so you're going to hear me say this a lot, and you've heard me say it before. Simplicity is elegance. So if you keep it simple, you can manage it, right? So routine is precious. Precious. Who makes your schedule?
I do.
If you make your schedule, then it's all your fault.
That's right.
But if it's all your fault, you also hold all the solution. So that's good.
Yeah.
So you're not a victim of anyone else but yourself.
That's right.
So you can fix it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can actually fix it today.
Yeah, you're right. I get into the habit to where if I get on a roll, say take field work, and you're familiar with some of the stuff that I do.
More than you think.
If I have a couple meetings in Houston and meeting in Beaumont one day, and I'm on the road for 8-10 hours, it's a lot of field work. There's obviously a lot of computer work and paperwork, not paperwork, but computer work now that goes into that. And if you have a good productive field day, then it often requires a productive office day to
counterbalance,
capture all of that, and to create follow-up appointments and everything like that. So that's kind of what I struggle with the most. We'll overbook ourselves. Like I said, we set our own schedule. We don't like telling customers no. If an opportunity comes up, we want to be there. And it's managing those sales calls, managing that time that you have to spend in the office. That's probably one of the hardest things to do is an unstructured sales job.
I agree with you 100%. Like, I couldn't agree with you much more than I do.
Our number one goal is to generate leads. So we want to generate.
Your number one goal is to close sales.
That's right. That's right.
So let me help you with something if you're okay with it. So what if I told you that your most valuable and powerful word, your most precious word in your entire vocabulary, as far as in relation to your customers, is the word no? What if I told you that the word no could double, triple, quadruple your value? And what I mean by that is, when you're in a position to tell a customer no, what does that mean to the customer? What does it mean to them? Put yourself in their position and imagine, what does it mean when the salesperson that's in charge of your account, you big customer, what does it mean when they're telling me no? How does it feel? What does it make you want to say? What happens in your mind? I'm you and you're ExxonMobil, or you're whoever. You're whoever, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm you. Call me and ask me to do something for you.
And you tell me no.
I'm going to tell you no.
It's going to make me generate a response.
What's the response? I want to know what you think they're going to say. I'm serious. This is a big deal.
I don't know. It would depend on the situation.
It doesn't. Let's pretend that you are in a position where you have to tell them no. For real. It doesn't matter what they're asking for. They got $20 billion in their hand, and they're calling you to hand it to you. But you have to tell them no. Why do you have to tell them no? What would be a good reason to tell them no?
It's unethical or...
No, you're too busy. What does that say to them?
They're not worth my time.
No. It tells them that you are so precious and valuable, someone beat them to you. And that you value your customers enough not to overcommit and to overburden yourself to not be able to complete the task you've committed to. That's the purpose of no, to keep your integrity. As a customer, when they hear no, their first response is not what you predict. Do you know why you think that? Because you view no as a failure. As a salesman, we're taught that, right? We get this ingrained thought in us that when I hear no, it's a reflection of my failure. So if I say no, I'm telling the customer they're not worth anything. Why? Because when I hear no, I feel like I'm not worth anything. It's not true. If you're in a position of no, you are automatically in a position of power. Let me explain. When you go to a customer, you want what they've got, right? Or at least that's what you think. In reality, you want to give them an opportunity to experience what you've got. You're not taking from them, you're giving to them. You're offering them a chance at your better way. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
But it's hard to adjust your thoughts that way, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I look at any customer interaction more of how can I help them?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You want to give them the opportunity. Pay attention to the words I'm saying here.
All right.
You want to give them an opportunity because you're operating from a place of abundance, okay? I'm going to give you the opportunity to experience my way of doing business if you work with me. I'm not trying to take anything from you or force you to buy anything from me. I want to give to you. That's the best way to approach a sale. So when you walk up to the customer the way you do it now, the way your thought process works now, and you're going to ask for the close and they say no, what happens? Who has the power in that moment?
Well, they do because they said no.
Why?
Because I obviously didn't find what they needed, or they don't feel like my product or service is of value to them.
So why is it any different when you have to say no to your customer? Do you ever think about it like that? What's the difference in you and them? If everything is sales and everyone is selling, they're selling to you as much as you're selling to them. They need you and want you as much as or more you want and need them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at it though, isn't it?
Sure.
So how do you think it would be different if you approach conversations with companies like that in that way?
Well, give me an example.
Okay. So I'm the customer, right? And you're busy. Let's just say you just closed a $50 million deal. And whatever that means, that's going to make your company that you represent bowed up like a cutworm, right? Busy, busy. So you just closed this deal and you know it. You've got it stored away in the back of your mind. But you already had this other appointment scheduled with John Big Boy Company, and you know they've got a big project on the books too that's coming up, and you had already put in the bid, right? And you're trying to close the deal. So is either of us less than the other one in this meeting?
No.
Who's selling who? If you've already got a project that's bigger than the one I've got to do, and I know you're the best in town, and I know you're the best there is, and I know you are a person and a company of integrity, I want to do business with you. Who has the upper hand?
Well, I do.
And that's who you'll build yourself to be. Always.
Well, I go into my mindset of going into any sales deal is that, and, you know, it doesn't matter if I've just got a $50 million deal. If you've got a $5,000 deal, I'm going to treat it the exact same way.
I agree with you all the way. I think that's how it ought to be.
And, you know, I don't look at it as, you know, I do look at it as I have the upper hand. That's kind of my mentality, right? Confidence and you know, excitement when I go into a sale. But
the bigger picture that I was aiming for was that neither party really has the upper hand. Both parties want each other equally. That neither party needs each other. Right?
right.
That was the goal of where I was headed with it. That neither one is there as a lesser value than the other.
No.
Okay? Both the salesperson and the potential customer are both customers. They're both customers.
That's right.
So if you represent the best company for what you do in the market that you're in, they're going to know it. They're going to want you. They're not going to want to settle for the second best just because you're busy. So then when you are in a position that you, by integrity, you need to say no, what does that mean? Remember, we were talking about having to say no.
Yeah.
It means that you're operating from a true place of abundance, a true place of success. What happens to people when they're successful? Businesses, people, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. What happens?
They're happy. They're full of abundance.
And they draw more success to them.
Right.
Right? So what does that no ultimately represent?
Success.
More business. Isn't that crazy? Can you see how?
Yeah.
So, never, ever, ever fear having to say no or hear no. No is the best yes you'll ever hear. I used to say this corny little line when I was in outside sales. I would say, go for no. Because no was my favorite response from a customer. It really was. But now that I've, learned a lot more and grown a lot more, I understand the real meaning of the word no and its value. The word no is powerful, but not because it's a negative. The word no is powerful actually because it's an affirmative. It's a word of confidence if used correctly. Okay? Do you have any questions about any of that?
No.
So how does it feel to say no?
Feels good. No.
So we went through some pretty good stuff, but it was pretty simple, right? Do you feel like those things will help you be productive?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want you to be truthful. I want you to be honest. And I know that a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about are principles that you know already. But that's why I say nobody needs a coach. You've got the information. My only job is to help you see it.
Yeah.
And help you apply it. Is there anything you'd like to ask?
No.
It's a good word, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes practicing saying the word no in the right way, it gives you more freedom than you could ever imagine. Yes is a word of obligation, right?
Yeah.
No is a freeing word. It dissolves the obligation. How empowering is that?
You're right. I see that is empowering.
Well, here's something else I want to practice since you said it. Instead of agreeing with me, I want you to focus on the results of what I'm saying. I don't want to be right. I want the information to be correct. So as we proceed and progress through all this, when you hear something that you agree with or that you see as truthful and factual, my preferred language would be, that's right. I don't want to be right. I'll let you be right if you want to be. But I prefer saying, that's right. Okay?
Okay.
And the reason I focus on language so much is because language is two things. Language is an expression of how we think, and it's also how we receive new thoughts. So when you express yourself a certain way, you adopt the thoughts that go with it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for today.